What's up, guys? My name is Rob. You're on Rule of Two Review, and today I want to talk about the long-term effects of these recent attacks on the networks. So it's certainly not news to anyone, I'm sure, to hear about the recent DDoS attacks that happened towards the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live on Christmas Day, just a couple of days ago now. It's been pretty big news, and there's a lot going on there. You know, this coming just a week or so off of the heels of the hacker attack on Sony's network and Sony Pictures, and the debacle they went through with the interview, and if it was North Korea, and the terrorism attacks, and all these things. And, you know, I have my own theories on whether or not this may or may not be related. I kind of think it could be, but regardless of that, it's kind of a different scenario because there are different, named hacker groups that are kind of being linked or publicly taking credit for what's been happening to PSN and Xbox Live. And, that stuff may or may not be true again. That's not really what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the fact that these things happened. A lot of people are mad at Sony and Microsoft, more mad at Sony for the fact that, Microsoft was able to get their network back up within a day, and Sony is still having troubles now 4 days later. And that is certainly a problem. And a lot of people are really focusing their blame on the two companies. I don't 100% agree with that. My perspective is it's kind of really the people we should be mad at. The people that I am mad at are the people who actually did this, because regardless of the fact that, yes, we all pay money and Sony and Microsoft are making millions of dollars from everybody to have these networks, and they're promising security and this great experience. And this is a problem, and they should be big enough of a company with enough money to prevent these. At the end of the day, I still can't be mad at them. I'm mad at the people who are doing this. This is childish, bullheaded BS, and I don't think it accomplishes anything. And it kind of shows that there's just really bad people out there who are more into punishing the gamer than punishing the company. And whether or not they realize that's what they're doing, that's the way I perceive it. I feel like I have been punished, and other gamers, especially over Christmas, all these people who got their brand new systems aren't able to use them properly. Those people are being punished. Forget Sony and Microsoft. Who cares about proving a point to them? They're big business video game companies just like anybody is, and they have a right to want to make money. So, yes, there are probably things they do wrong, and they probably deserve some sort of backlash, I guess, but that's not really where I think people should be focusing their anger. Regardless, that's where a lot of people are. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But again, the real purpose of me wanting to talk about this now a couple of days later is it's got me thinking about, like I said in my intro, what the long-term effects of these hacks are, and how I think that these attacks might actually yield positive results. So in order for me to explain that, I sort of have to talk about the negative first. The negative is the obvious stuff I basically have already talked about. These systems, which are worth millions and probably billions of dollars based on how much R&D and money is being put into maintaining and creating these networks, as well as the fact that, again, all of us gamers and consumers are paying so much money to Sony and Microsoft respectively to keep their networks up and running and, of supposed high quality, quote unquote. Funny how Nintendo hasn't really been brought into this, or even any of the PC networks, but it is what it is. Sony and Microsoft were the two companies who were targeted, and their networks were the ones that suffered. So that's the problem. That's the negative here, is that they've been attacked, and the weaknesses have been exposed, you can say. However, to me, it's more than just a weakness in the networks and in their infrastructure that's been exposed. It's a network in their business model and the model with which their respective consoles are built around. We live here now in 2014, just a couple of days away from 2015, and we are getting to this point where the cloud gaming and the streaming media is what's really kind of driving entertainment for a lot of people in our homes and our mobile devices and our phones and iPads and all these things, and even though, yes, the PC market and the Wii U still definitely take advantage of that aspect, they're not, as ingrained with, well, actually, I'm sorry. The PC market absolutely is. Nintendo's network really isn't. But again, we're getting to the point where, these are so prolific in the gaming and media world today. And the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, Sony and Microsoft's current home console respectively, again, Nintendo's Wii U isn't in this conversation because they haven't been attacked, and their infrastructure is different. Those two systems are built to be so reliant on the internet and connectivity. Microsoft is always talking about the power of the cloud, and that's what they're really kind of pushing for. And there's so many different experiences, things like Destiny and whatnot, and even other single-player experiences where you can't play them offline without being connected to the internet. We can go back to early last year when we had Microsoft talking about the initial DRM plans they had. And, luckily, thank God, we as a people and we as a gaming community united and fought back against that. And they made a brilliant move to remove that level of restriction. However, there's a lot of that restriction that's still present on all consoles. I mean, there isn't a single Nintendo game or game on the Wii U that is reliant 100% on the internet, which is good. But that may happen at some point. I mean, they may end up going that route for sure. We know that a lot of the PC and Steam related stuff is, and again, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One absolutely are. And the reason these attacks are actually kind of showcasing and exposing this is because what we have learned, and we already knew this, but what we have now seen is once these networks were attacked and went down, again, Microsoft's for one day, Sony's on and off for a couple of days. Once that happens, there are so many aspects of your $400 or $500 console that you cannot take advantage of. Most of it is gaming related. So your console is rendered to 10 to 20% usability maybe, depending on what you're trying to do with it, what games you want to play, and what you're using your console for. And I feel like, so when talking about how I think that this could kind of yield positive results, is what I'm really hoping for, and more than just hope, also think may end up happening, is because these attacks and the fact that there's been kind of a lot of these over the last couple of years. This year alone, there was a few attacks. There was a lot of threats. There are these hacking groups that are doing this to people on YouTube and to Sony and to Microsoft and online networks and all these crazy things. And the infamous 2010 hack of the Sony of PSN, which was devastating for 40 days or something. That was an awful, awful, very dark time. And these things are becoming more and more common. And it's too bad because I think the wrong people have the wrong level of power and are trying to make a voice for themselves. And honestly, a lot of us don't give a fuck what they have to say. I don't care about your voice. I don't care about you, the people doing this. You're not interesting to me. A lot of you are freaking douchebags. Just that's how I look at it. But what's happening is kind of similar to the story early on in the film, The Social Network. They've kind of exposed the weakness to the larger gaming kind of landscape, and even Nintendo and the PC and Steam Valve related markets, they need to take note of this too, even though they haven't been attacked here. Everybody needs to learn that, wow, based on how we build our infrastructures and our business models for our hardware and gaming services in the future, down the road, maybe in the 9th generation or whatever happens there, maybe we shouldn't be so reliant on the internet. Maybe we shouldn't be so reliant on a network that we built and on the cloud and on the ability and necessity to stream all these things. Fuck Gaikai. Who cares about streaming things when we can actually just have the physical things and we can have our several $100 machines and our $50, $60, sometimes $200 with limited edition games in our hands, and we can just play them. And if we have the access to the internet, great. That makes maybe Netflix will now work because we have access to the internet. But if the system goes down, then we can still use our systems. The way these last couple of days, I do have an Xbox One and a PlayStation 4, and I haven't really used them, but I've had my Wii U, and I've had no problem playing most of those games. And there's a couple of games I've been able to play on the others as well, but there's so many things I haven't been able to do, and I haven't been able to interact with my friends or my family who I play with and chat with online with a lot of these games. So what I'm hoping is that this limitation and this vulnerability of being so reliant on the online connection and the infrastructure of being, having all this streaming and all this is kind of removed from the future. I want Sony and Microsoft specifically, as well as the other guys, like I said, to at least be taking note, but I want them to realize this, notice it as an actual crack within their foundation, and fix it going forward. Don't just put a Band-Aid on it. Don't just give people a couple free shitty downloadable games and call it good. I mean, you need to really take note of what's happening, because this is a potential problem for the future, and we can eliminate the power that these frickin' idiots have when they're trying to attack and hack all these networks and ruin the good times of their fellow gamers, quote unquote. They need to remove that power by saying, hey, we're not going to make our systems and our networks so reliant on the thing that you think you can attack. I mean, if it was a fucking Nintendo Entertainment System, the only way anyone could attack your system is by kicking your door open, walking into your home, and dropping a fucking boulder on it. That is the only way you can interrupt someone's NES playtime, you know? And that was that way for so long until like the last 7th gen, and now this gen, where everything is so reliant on this stuff. And I know I'm kind of talking myself in circles, and I kind of do that, so it's definitely time to kind of wrap up my theories and my thoughts here. But I think that I got the point across. I'm hoping it makes sense to you. I just hope that, and again, I think this will happen. I think that when we look into the 9th gen, if we actually have a 9th gen, you know, maybe this will lead Sony and Microsoft specifically, because we know they were the ones considering this, to not have a cloud or streaming only gaming service. You know, the PlayStation 5 was rumored to maybe be a cloud thing where you just download an app or something and that's your PlayStation 5 and they just release games for you to purchase, download, or stream. Same with Microsoft. Maybe they've now learned, hey, that is not okay, because you really want to talk about problems when your network goes down. You won't even have a box to turn on under your TV if it's just an app that you download for a PlayStation 5. That is ridiculous. They can't do that. These people will find a way to prevent you from having a gaming service if you do that. So, I don't know. I feel like Nintendo, you know, my favorite company, they seem to have it right, and they're just dabbling in how the online infrastructure is working for their stuff. And yeah, they're behind the curve on some things. I absolutely admit that. But at the end of the day, some of their limitations were almost convenient, because it wouldn't really fuck up or devastate Nintendo's infrastructure, their network, their business model, or the gamers at home with Wii U's playing them if somebody did this. If Nintendo's network got brought down, all that would happen is when you turn on your Wii U, you wouldn't see all the other people on Miiverse posting about the different games they're playing. You could turn on almost every game. You couldn't play Mario Kart online, you couldn't play Smash Brothers online, and those things would suck for a while, but everything else would work okay. Everything else would work okay. And that's awesome. And you know what? That's how it should be. That's how it should be going forward. Forget this nonsense. Forget the internet. I'm sorry. I mean, the internet helps. It's a good thing. I use it. I enjoy it for gaming. But forget being so reliant on the necessity for it to be part of your business model. So anyway, that's it. I think I've rambled myself to death. Hopefully this stuff makes sense. I really feel like all the game companies are going to take note and hopefully make the right decisions going forward. I'm willing to bet we will see the next level of systems and hardware in the next few years not be so reliant on these things, on this structure and this business model. I don't think we will. So, but who knows? I guess we'll see in the next couple of years. So that's it. That's my video, my rambling about this subject for today. Of course, what do you guys think? Do you think that this makes sense? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? You know, I always like to hear regardless. Definitely start a conversation and leave a comment down below in the video. Again, thanks for tuning in. Of course, subscribe to Rule of Two Review if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys next time on another video for Rule of Two Review.